Manchester United have just completed the signing of Bryan Mbeumo following the signings of Diego Leon and Matthias Cunha, and the club hasn't officially announced that Mbeumo is now a Manchester United player and he will be wearing the number 19 shirt. But what's next? We look at it in this video. Manchester United have completed the signing of Bryan Mbeumo, but the summer rebuild has not yet stopped. We know that Manchester United are looking for a striker, a goalkeeper, and a midfielder. In this video, we're going to look at what's next for Manchester United and what's the probable forward that Manchester United is going to buy, as well as the goalkeepers, and what to do in the midfield, because we know that Manchester United have an issue with their midfield. Bruno Fernandes is not quite working well, and we have him. We need him. We didn't sell him. Amorim wants to play him. So let's start with the forwards. At the moment, we have these three forwards here who've been linked to Manchester United. We have Benjamin Šeško from Leipzig. We have Ole Watkins as well as Nicholas Jackson. We are going to look at how these players match to each other, how they compare to each other, what are their skills, what are their key highlights, as well as which forward uh, is best for Manchester United. Let me know in the comment section which forward you think United should buy. So, looking at the metrics, or before we look at the metrics, we know that Sesko is an expensive buy. We've seen Onstein and Lowry Whitwell come out and say Manchester United do not have the funds to buy Sesko because of the transfer fee required to sign him, as well as the salary the player would want is a stumbling block for the club. At the moment, Manchester United are trying to structure deals in terms of installments. We know that Marcus Rashford has left, and he has freed up about 12 to 15 million in terms of wages, which is a good amount, and we could invest it in a player. Ole Watkins is Premier League proven. We've seen INEOS is currently going for players that are Premier League proven. Watkins is that it's at an age of 29 years old compared to Sheshko and Jackson, who are younger than him. And to me, in my previous video and in all my live videos you've seen, I've said that I would prefer to have Ole Watkins. Well, we'll see whether that is justified. Jackson, yesterday we had a bit of news that Chelsea are valuing him at 80 to 100 million pounds, which is quite ridiculous. Actually, it's an absolute joke to value him at 80 to 100. Who would pay that anyway? Would you? Now, looking at the metrics, we have Sesko, we have Watkins, and Jackson. We know that Sesko played last season or is playing for Leipzig at the moment. Um, Ole Watkins is at Aston Villa, and Nicholas Jackson is at Chelsea. So the number of games played by each player, we have Sesko who played 31 games, Watkins who played 36 games, 38 games, and Jackson who also played 36 matches. Looking at those numbers there, 30 matches, sorry, for Jackson. Looking at those numbers there, the minutes, Watkins has more minutes compared to all of them. In terms of shots, excluding blocks, Sesko had 42 compared to Watkins 67 and 64. As we can see, the Watkins numbers are quite higher. That's why you're seeing all those greens there compared to the other two. In terms of goals, Šeško only scored 14 goals in the Bundesliga last season, compared to 16 for Watkins as well as 10 for Nicholas Jackson. So if we look at those numbers, and we've mentioned that Jackson is being valued between 80 and 100, that fee does not justify whatsoever the value that is being touted for Jackson. To me, Jackson is a player worth around 30, 40 million, including add-ons. In terms of conversion rate, Benjamin Sheshko has a higher conversion rate in terms of percentage. That is 33.3 compared to Watkins 23.88. And Jackson has the lowest conversion rate. We know that he misses a lot of chances. He's always in good positions. He gets the ball. He has good runs, but he doesn't quite convert. He either fires over the bar, or gives it to the keeper in terms of one-on-ones. Yeah, assists wise, and this is where I have an issue with Sesko. He only had two last season compared to Watkins eight and Jackson's five. Well, for Manchester United, what we need at the moment, we need a forward that can link up play with Mbeumo and Cunha. One thing I like about the current signings we've had and the structure we have is that the goal scoring burden has been lightened on the forwards. When you have the likes of Cunha, when you have the likes of Mbeumo, Bruno, Ahmad as well, it's not expected that the forward is the only one expected to be scoring lots of goals or all the goals in the team. All these four players can feed off each other, can rotate positions. And to me, I want to see a forward that can come in and be able to play across multiple positions. You're going to look at the heat map for Watkins and Sheshko. It's quite similar. And we need a forward that can drop deep, create spaces for Cunha and Bumo, as well as Bruno, to come into goal scoring positions and be able to shoot at goal. At the moment, we know that the plan seems like Mbumo and Ahmad will be on the right, and both can swap positions. At one point, Bumo can play as a right wing back, while Ahmad plays as a right 10. We look at Cunha. Cunha can also swap positions with Bruno. There are times Cunha likes dropping deep to get the ball. Bruno can step up to play as a left 10. And it's quite a fluid system that I'm excited to see. Now, looking at the other comparison metrics between the three forwards, in terms of 90, the previous one we saw is the entire season. But per 90, we can see that uh, Sheshko and Ole Watkins almost have similar numbers. They almost have similar numbers. So we need now to decide which is the best forward for us. Uh, when we look at those metrics there, in terms of games, 31, 38 minutes, they basically played the whole game. Shots per 90, Sheshko has more shots per 90 by point 0.1. That is 2.5 for Sheshko and 2.4 for Watkins. In terms of accuracy, it's 59.2, 59.52, sorry, compared to 59.7. That tells you that both players are quite good in terms of their accuracy compared to Jackson, who's at 54.69. That is low. We need a forward that out of five shots, they can get at least two goals. That's the reliability. That's the forward we need to have. Gyökeres at the moment is one of the top goal scorers. We know that he has a very high conversion rate. And Manchester United at the moment need a forward that can be able to score a lot of goals. In terms of the conversion rate as well, it's 33.3 for Sheshko and 28.88 for Ole Watkins. Assists, of course, Ole Watkins provided more assists per 90 last season compared to Sheshko. And it's quite similar numbers to Nicholas Jackson. There are reports coming out that Manchester United attempted to sign Jackson, probably because Amorim wants a forward that can link up play with the two number 10s. He does not always need a forward that will just be there for tap-ins or just wait for the ball to score. He also wants a forward that can defend. He also wants a forward that will drop deep to be able to create avenues for the two number 10s and the wing backs. In terms of passes attempted, Sheshko had more passes attempted, 19.1 per 90, compared to 14.3 for Ole Watkins. Now, when we are coming to the heat map, both Walla Watkins and Sheshko have more or less similar heat maps, as you can see in the graphic on the side there. So you can see that both players like dropping deep to get the ball, to link up play with other players, and this is the sort of forward I believe Amorim wants. Uh, if we look at the players we have, the kind of profile of players we have, Mumo can be able to score goals, Cunha can be able to score goals, Ahmad and Bruno, and Cunha and Mbeumo can be able to play as forwards as well. They can be able to take up that forward position if either Ole Watkins or Sheshko drops deep to get the ball. The fluidity there is good, and it's the sort of profiles we have in those players can be able to help us play a fluid front four or a fluid front three. And I've mentioned that Ahmad can also play in as a number 10. The forwards we need at the moment are not only there to score goals, they're also there to create chances. And as we can see in the heat map there, the only key difference we can see is that Ole Watkins has been positioned more on the penalty spot compared to Sheshko. If you've seen the highlights going around or the compilations, the video compilations, we can see that most of the shots that Sheshko does or makes are outside the box compared to Ole Watkins. In terms of how Amorim builds, in terms of the 3-4-1-2, the 3-4-2-1, sorry, position, attacking lineup we play, or formation we play, we see that most of it's geared to have around three or four attackers in the box. And one of the things that we've seen Hoyland have an issue with is getting into the right positions to be able to score goals. Ola Watkins can provide that. So I think by now you know my verdict in terms of which forward we should sign. I'm going for Watkins. Despite his age, he's Premier League proven. He's a player that we need. He's a player that we absolutely require in this team. He's going to provide experience. If Hoyland does not leave, we've seen reports coming out today that Hoyland might be sold by Manchester United. He wants to stay and fight for his position, for his place. But if we were to sell him, we are not short of positions. We are not short of players because Zaxi can play there. We have Chido who's coming up, and Ola Watkins coming in with that Premier League experience and playing experience. Considering he's 29, he's played quite a bit in England. He can be able to provide that assist. He can be able to provide that knowledge and wisdom to the players in terms of positioning, in terms of how they should handle themselves as forwards, dropping the shoulder, as well as show them how it's done on the field of play. Sheshko is an expensive buy. He's also 22, and I'm not quite sure whether we are ready to go for another young, unproven striker. Scoring 14 goals in Bundesliga last season is not good enough for me. Premier League is much tougher than Bundesliga, and I usually say that a foreign striker coming in into the Premier League at a young age, the goals they scored, you should have that amount. So if Sheshko scored, for example, Sheshko scored 14 goals last season, you should expect a minimum of seven or an average of seven if he comes to the Premier League. Well, I might be proven wrong if he comes in, but for me, my verdict is let's go for Ole Watkins. Ole Watkins is the forward I would like to see Manchester United have. Sheshko just signed his contract last year, and he still has 4 more years to go. So the player won't be cheap. We've seen a fee going around for 90 million, 80 million euros. And if we were to buy him, of course, you know, there is the usual United tax. Ole Watkins is going for around 60 million. But I'm sure as the window goes by, as the deadline draws near, closes near, we will see that the price will drop because Aston Villa, we know that they need money. They are not in a good position in terms of PSR, and they need to sell in order to buy. And Aston Villa are the sort of team that usually sells their star players so that they can invest in younger players. There is talk of Garnacho being of interest for Villa. Could we possibly have a swap deal for that? You've also seen that I have not mentioned Nicholas Jackson as much because I don't rate him at all. I don't rate him at all. I don't think this is a player we should be buying or we should be looking at whatsoever. Jackson needs time to develop, and Manchester United is not the best place for him to come and develop further. He needs time. Probably Chelsea can give him out on loan to lower league side, the likes of Sunderland, where he can play week in, week out and develop his skill. Manchester United is a high pressure environment. Fans, also your teammates, the coaches, everyone expects you to come in and start performing immediately. Are we ready to take on another youngster at the time where we are rebuilding? I think not. Watkins is a good stopgap. We can always get Sheshko. If he doesn't move, he can develop further and we can have a look at him in the next 2 or 3 seasons. And who knows, by the time the 2 or 3 season lapses, there might be other good forwards that have come up that we look at and say, few years back we looked at Sheshko, and now we have other forwards who are available for a considerable fee or a good amount. Right now, at this moment in this transfer window, we are having players who the players that are being looked out for, the players that are being sought out for are forwards. And and the windows changes, the seasons changes. There are times where midfielders are on the high market, defenders are on the high market because the demand is high. Right now, it's the forwards. We are not seeing so much movement for fullbacks, for defenders, for midfielders. Right now, most of the talk is to do with forwards, and that's why the market is quite expensive when it comes to acquiring top talent in terms of forwards. Now, where do we go next as Manchester United in terms of the forward? I would say let's get Olo Watkins. Let's negotiate for around 35 to 40 million. Let's see how the windows goes. Things change. Who knows? Probably Leipzig might get a player request, transfer request saying that I need to go, and Manchester United come in probably with around 60 million, 70 million with add-ons and say, yeah, the player is yours. So the window, we are still in it. It still goes for another month, I think, or 5 6 weeks. And things might change. Things might change. What we know is that Manchester United need to ship out players so that they can be able to fund transfers. Rashford, we've seen he's gone to Barcelona. We are yet to get a confirmation, but we've seen photo ops going there around on social media that he's already a Barcelona player. We know that he traveled there this past weekend to sign the contract. We also need to ship out Ganacho, Anthony, and Malasia, as well as Sancho. And once we get the players, the outgoing sorted out, it will be easy for Manchester United to sign other players. Now, a position that is not being talked about as much is the midfield position. Ruben Amorim, after the Leeds game, came out and said that we need a midfielder. We have Bruno who's playing in the central midfield, and he started playing with Casemiro. In the second half, we had Ugarte coming in, playing with Kobe. And if we've decided that Bruno is one of the midfield too, then the other position we need to get a player that can be able to go into the defensive areas during transition, collect the ball, turn, and make out a pass either to the wing backs or to the two tens or even a long ball to the forwards. Right now, we don't have that player. Our midfield is quite open because we know Bruno is not good in terms of positioning. Bruno is weak in positioning. He's a very good creative player. He's good on the ball, but off the ball, he's not the player we need. Our midfield at the moment is very open. Casemiro does not have the legs, similar to Mainu. Mainu is young. He can't run. Yes, we saw him having a very intense preseason training before the actual preseason training with Manchester United, but he's a player that still needs to develop. It will be sad to see him leave, but from the way the structure is set up, from the way Manchester United are setting up, I don't quite see a position for Mainu. He might end up being a squad player, either in one of the tens or a sub for Bruno. But Maino is a player I wish could get more speed into his game, because he's a player who's good on the ball. He can defend, he can turn, he's press resistant, and that's the sort of player we want. The midfielders that we need to sign are the likes of Hayden Hackney, the likes of Adam Wharton, the likes of Ederson from Atalanta. Those are the players that we need to sign. More like a Vitinha kind of signing, a player who can drop deep, get the ball, turn, press resistant, and be able to pass. Ugarte is good in terms of defensive play. He can defend, but he's not good on the ball. He's not a good passer of the ball. Um, he crumbles under pressure. He can't handle the ball. And I'm not seeing him getting much game time this season, especially considering that we are having fewer games this season in terms of we're only going to have Premier League, FA Cup, and the Carabao Cup. So Ugarte is a player I would like to keep around just to give other players the rest, but we do need to get a midfielder. Collier, I'm seeing him going out on loan, especially if you are looking at getting a central midfielder. Right now, there are no concrete talks in terms of getting a midfielder. Manchester United is still exploring. But in terms of the priority, we mentioned Manchester United want to buy a striker, a midfielder, and a goalkeeper. I would go for a central midfielder, a midfielder that will be able to shelve the spaces, will be able to cover the spaces in midfield. Now that we are deciding that we are going to play Bruno as part of the midfield too. Fine, Cunha can drop in and be able to cover some of those spaces, but we know that he we want him to be upfront. We want him to be a number 10 to create goal scoring chances. We can't spend 62 odd million on an attacking player and expect him to always drop into midfield and cover those spaces. Uh, Mount, we can't trust him. He's not as reliable in terms of his injury record. And if he comes in, yes, he can do the job in midfield, but we need a specialist in that area. Mount, I'd take him as a squad player for the number 10 positions. The performances we saw when he came back, other than Lyon, I haven't seen anything that special for him. I mentioned in the last video that he's a player I'm indifferent to. If we sell, if we keep, I'd be okay. At Manchester United, if we need to sign a midfielder, one of those midfielders have to give way. It might be Mount, it might be Kobe, it might be Collier, either out on loan or a full sale. A full sale will be ideal because it means we can get money. For example, if we decide to sell Kobe, we can get a minimum of 60 million pounds on the market, on the current market. And he's a player that can draw interest from major clubs. We saw in January that Chelsea were interested in signing him. Who knows? Other big clubs can come in for the player. I don't want to lose him, but a rebuild is always tough. You have to be ready to lose any player in that squad. So a midfielder should be high on the list. So we go with the midfielder. A forward. Forwards, we already have them. We don't know how Zakzi, Chido, and Hoyland will perform with now that we have Cunha and Bumo. These are two players that can help these players pick up their numbers, pick up their goals, give them assists, provide to the forwards. One of the issues we had last season, even when Ten Hag was in, was we couldn't create chances for our forwards. I want to see Hoyland improve his positioning, improve his ball handling, his hold up play. He's not good. He usually loses all duels, almost all duels with the defenders. And Zakzi does a good job. He's more of a 9.5, and probably that's the player we need to use at the moment if we don't have the funds to get a forward. And he's good in link up play, opening up spaces for other players to go in and score. The other position that Manchester United are looking at is a goalkeeper, and this is one of the players that has been linked recently to Manchester United. It's Lamens. Sane Lamens from Antwerp has been linked and is quite affordable. There is a fee of around 20 million euros that has been quoted for the player. 20 million euros in this current market is quite affordable for a goalkeeper. And Onana, Bayandia, Heaton, they are not reliable. Heaton did put in a good performance in the Leeds game, but can we really depend on him going into the entire season? Looking at our rivals around, they have good, solid goalkeepers. And we need a goalkeeper that can come in and give us around 12, 10, 12, 15 clean sheets in a season. We conceded a lot of goals. We didn't score, yes, but we conceded a lot of goals, especially when Manchester United are playing against the top six teams. We are always scared. How many are we going to ship in? Is it seven? Is it six? Is it five? Is it four? Even when we were playing against smaller teams, Brighton, Brentford were scoring 4, 5 goals easily. Um, the way the system works, we need a reliable goalkeeper, not only in terms of shot stopping, but in terms of distribution. Onana was signed as one of the best goalkeepers when it comes to distribution. We haven't seen that so far. The last 2 seasons he's been here, and we know that he's injured. We don't know whether he'll be available for the first game. The other thing we need to also remember is that we have AFCON coming up, and Bayandia and Heaton are not good substitutes for him. If we can get Lamens, he's young. He's a player who can come in and give competition to Andre Onana. We sell Bayandia and have him as a number two. He can play in the odd cup games. If he proves himself, then he can become our number one keeper. In terms of the goalkeeping position, other than De Gea, we've not had a good goalkeeper. Yeah, we know that De Gea did not perform well prior to his contract expiry, and that's why we were looking at replacing him. But we need a goalkeeper that is quite reliable. And this guy here, I like him. I've watched a couple of highlights. I've also made time to check out his full matches that he has played. He hasn't played much for Antwerp, but he has provided a good show. And these are the keepers we need to have. We also have Vitek, who's an academy player. I haven't watched him play as much, but he did put a good performance while he was out on loan. And one of the positions that we need to have consistency, reliability, and we have confidence is a goalkeeper. I would rather we have games ending nil-nil with the goalkeeper being the man of the match than what we have at the moment. Onana is quite shaky. We know that he fumbles on the ball. Martinez has been mentioned, but I don't want Martinez. Honestly, I don't want Martinez. But if it comes to that compared to Onana, I would rather have Martinez. But considering we have other options out there, and I keep saying, and I said this on social media, that the goalkeeping market is flooded. That's not a space or an area where we should be worried about too much. And I'm guessing that's why the club is not worried so much about the goalkeeping positions. Uh, Goalkeepers are available in the market, they are available for a good fee. And the club has not yet made a decision on whether to sell the goalkeepers we have or to keep. We don't know Amorim's plan, but part of the rebuild is we need a good goalkeeper. James Trafford is a good goalkeeper, but he has played for City. I'm not sure whether United fans would welcome him. Personally, I wouldn't. I wouldn't want to have a rival player playing for us. City are also looking at buying him, activating the buyback clause they have for him because Ederson is moving away. He's not happy at the club and he's moving. Martinez is a good shout. Another goalkeeper that has been mentioned in terms of the targets is John Victor from Botafogo. He's 29. Goalkeeper for a goalkeeper, that's a prime age. Other than the Club World Cup, we don't know his performances beyond that. Will he come in and struggle in the Premier League? Are we ready to take a risk on foreign players? We know that INEOS want to buy Premier League proven players. Martinez obviously is high on that list when it comes to that sort of profile. But Lamens has proved to be a good goalkeeper despite him playing in a lesser foreign league. So let's see how it goes. The window is still open. There's still a lot of time to go. Things can change. Uh, we are worried that Manchester United don't have the funds to buy players. We've seen the sort of structure they are coming up with, payment structures, even if it means paying a bit more to get a player, but having installments to be able to handle a transfer, it's good. We are paying 20 million euros for Cunha in the first installment. We are paying 16.25 for Mbeumo, the first installment. So we've spent round about, let's say, 50 million so far, also considering the academy players we've bought, likes of Leon, the likes of Beek, and we still have some funds. We know that reports came out, or we've had reports that Manchester United can spend up to 120 million. So if we assume that that's the cash we had, then we are left with around 60, 70 million to spend. But we can't go to the market and spend all that. We are letting go of 5 players. We haven't sold even one other than Rashford, who's going out on loan, and that's not a sale. So we need to sell to buy. Things can change quickly. We know that the last week is usually crazy. Players can even go for cheap. A player that was quoted for 60, 70 million can even go for 40, 30, 50 million. So things can change. But though one thing that I would like to mention is, and it's an area that not many are highlighting, is the loan area. a loan with an obligation or an option to buy is one of the areas that Manchester United should be exploring at the moment. If we don't have money, we can negotiate with the club and tell them we'll pay the full salary, especially if we let all the five players we don't want go, and probably some other players that are not in Amorim's plans. We can let them go and then say we now have space for salaries. We have a squad space. If players would accept to come on a loan with an obligation and the parent club or the owning club do accept, that's one of the areas I would like us to explore. For example, Sheshko, if we don't have the money to buy him and Leipzig and the player do accept a loan move with an obligation, then that will be workable. Consider we also have players like Casemiro who are leaving next year because they are on their last year of the contract. And we could be able to afford the obligation to buy, even if it means that we pay a higher fee. Or we can do what United are currently doing with the loan moves. We put in a penalty where we say it didn't work out on loan. Let's pay let's say the £5 million penalty to have the player back. That's one of the areas that I would like us to explore, even if it's later on in the window. But a loan market, we know Manchester United don't usually go for a loan market. We've not seen so many players signed on loan by Manchester United. There are a handful. There are a handful that have been signed on loan, but this is a market that we need to explore. Right now, it's a bit early to explore that, but it's something we need to consider in case we don't have money. Let's not always think about permanent transfers and all that. So the last bit I want us to have a look at is the lineup, the probable lineup we may have in case we don't sign any more players in the window. We are assuming that the window probably is closing tomorrow, and we have to play Arsenal. We have to start the league. This is a prediction, my prediction of the sort of lineup Amorim would go for. You might agree, you might not. Let me know in the comment section. But this is the lineup I would go for if I were Amorim. And that is Onana on goal, assuming he's back from injury early. Martinez is back. We've seen him training. And Martinez is one of the best left centre backs we have in the world and in the league. If he can stay fit, he's a really, really good option on the left. We have Maguire. Uh, yeah, you might say that we have the league there, but Maguire, when I compare Maguire to the league, Maguire has good ball carrying skills compared to the league. He's a leader as well as the league, but in terms of ball carrying, ball distribution, positioning as well, Maguire is the best. When he plays in a back three, that's when we see the best out of Maguire. So I just have him there because of his ball distribution, ball handling, his vision to be able to spray passes, especially to the fullbacks and in the channels. Yoro is a good, exciting centre back. He can play in any of the three positions, but I have him there. Yeah, we might go for Mazraoui playing there, um, and he is a good option. Mazraoui put in a very good performance last season. He was one of our best players last season, but I will start Yoro over him just to give us that solidity. As well as there are games where we will need Mazraoui to come in and rest Ahmad in some games. So Yoro plays as the right centre back. Then we have Ahmad and Dogu as the wing backs. We know that Amorim usually wants one of the wing backs to play as a winger, and not necessarily more of the defensive side, but more the attacking side. And Ahmad put in a good performance there last season. No one thought that Ahmad would play as a right wing back, but we've seen him. Some of the best performances, especially when he scored those 11 goals, came from the right wing back position. Bruno, we've mentioned that position. Casemiro, I've placed Casemiro there off of a hunch by what we saw in the preseason game against Leeds. And when I look at the combinations, it's either Bruno, Casemiro, Bruno, Ugarte, Bruno Mainu, Bruno Collier. Collier is good. He puts in a shift, but he needs time to develop. And there are some games where Collier might be overrun. We saw that Leeds overrun us in midfield. Casemiro is good. He can be able to drop deep and play as one of the center backs, but it still leaves some spaces. And I've mentioned that we need to sort out that position. We need to get a midfielder there. If we can get a Baliba there, he won't be cheap. I'm sure he will be sold for around 100 million. If the price goes down, probably is 80 million. Yeah, the Cunha and Mbeumo positions are quite locked. That's obvious. We know that's why they've been signed. They will play there. In the forward line, I will start Zaxi. I mentioned that it's good to see that dynamism. Zaxi can be able to drop deep, create spaces for the two number 10s, and be able to score goals. We know Zaxi can score. We've seen that his positioning is good. Cunha and Bumo can find a pass, as well as Bruno and Ahmad. And I would have Zaxi Joshua play in front of Hoyland. So that's my predicted lineup in case we don't sign any other players in the window. But it's still early. Let's see how it goes. So that's it for this video. Make sure you go to our YouTube page, you subscribe, you like this video, you share, and we'll try as much as possible to do these deep dives, these analysis videos, just to compare the players. So thanks very much for watching this video. God bless. Keep safe. Bye bye.